Let me ask you something. When was the last time you finished a month and actually felt okay about how you spent your money? Not guilty, not scrambling, just okay. For most people, that feeling is rare. And it's not because they're careless or irresponsible. It's because nobody ever showed them what being good with money actually looks like in day-to-day life. Not the highlight reel, not the Instagram version. The actual boring, unsexy habits that quietly make a difference over time. I used to think saving money meant sacrifice, deprivation, saying no to everything, and white-knuckling your way through the month. And I did that for a while, tracked every cent, felt anxious about every coffee. What changed things was noticing a pattern. The people around me who seemed calm about money weren't doing dramatic things. They weren't extreme couponers. They weren't skipping vacations. They just had these quiet little habits, small decisions, almost invisible. That added up to something real over time. Today, I want to walk you through 10 of those things, the ones that don't feel like sacrifice. Most people scroll past because they don't look impressive enough, but they work, quietly, steadily, and without making your life miserable. Here's what I think most personal finance content gets wrong. It frames saving money as a willpower problem. Like if you're struggling financially, it's because you lack discipline. You're too impulsive. And if you just tried harder, things would be different. That framing is not only unhelpful, it's kind of harmful. Because most of our financial decisions aren't really conscious decisions at all. They're responses to stress, to boredom, to social pressure, to how we grew up thinking about money. You didn't accidentally end up with 3 subscriptions you forgot about. Somebody engineered that. Cancellation flows are intentionally complicated. Free trials are strategically timed. Convenience is priced into everything because removing friction is what makes them money. So before we go through these 10 things, I want you to drop the guilt for a second. The fact that money feels slippery doesn't mean you're bad at it. It means you're human, operating in a system that's optimized against your wallet. And once you see that clearly, the small habits I'm about to share start to feel less like discipline and more like opting out of the game they set up for you. The first thing is something I call a spending pause. Not a budget, not a restriction, just a pause. When I want to buy something that isn't food or an immediate necessity, I wait 48 hours. I don't tell myself I can't have it. I just say, not yet. And what I've found almost embarrassingly often is that 48 hours later, I don't want it anymore. The urgency fades. The emotional spike that made it feel necessary just dissolves. This works because most impulse spending isn't really about the thing. It's about a feeling you're trying to get. Relief, reward, excitement. And 48 hours is usually long enough for that feeling to pass. The second thing is that I unsubscribed from almost every retail email list I was on. This sounds trivial. It is not. Sale emails are designed to create manufactured urgency. 48 hours only. Only 3 left. They're not informing you of a deal. They're triggering a fear of missing out and selling you something you weren't thinking about 10 minutes ago. When I cleared my inbox of that noise, I stopped buying things I didn't plan to buy. 20 minutes to unsubscribe. Probably saved thousands since. The third thing changed my relationship with grocery shopping more than anything else. I eat before I go. Hungry shopping is genuinely dangerous for your wallet. When you're hungry, you make more impulsive choices. You buy more than you need. Full-stomach grocery shopping is slower, more intentional, and significantly cheaper. The fourth thing is a monthly subscription audit. Once a month, usually the first Sunday, I open my bank statement and look at every recurring charge. And I ask one question. Did I actually use this last month? Not will I use it someday. Did I use it last month? Most people, if they did this honestly, would find at least 1 or 2 things they're paying for that have become invisible. Streaming services, app subscriptions, memberships. These small charges are designed to be forgettable. Making them visible is the whole game. The fifth thing is something nobody talks about because it sounds almost too psychological. I stopped saving what was left over. I started saving first and spending what was left. The traditional approach is earn money, spend money, save whatever remains. The problem is whatever remains is almost always very little, because spending expands to fill the space available. Now I move a set amount to savings the day I get paid, before I pay for anything else. And my brain adjusts its sense of what I have to the lower number. I spend less without even trying. And hey, if you're finding this useful and want more, don't forget to subscribe. The sixth thing is that I almost never buy anything major online without checking for a better price somewhere else first. not obsessively. For anything meaningful, a few minutes of comparison shopping can save a surprising amount. The friction most people feel toward doing this is exactly what retailers are counting on. The seventh thing is cooking in batches. It's not about becoming a meal prep influencer. It's about reducing the moments in your week where you're tired, hungry, and staring at an empty fridge that makes delivery feel like the only option. Having something ready to eat removes that moment of weakness entirely. You're not white-knuckling it. You're just not creating the situation where the expensive choice feels necessary. The eighth thing is something I wish someone had explained to me earlier. Cost per use versus sticker price. Most people think of value as the purchase price, but a more useful question is, how much does this cost me each time I use it? A €40 jacket you wear twice a week for 3 years costs almost nothing per wear. A €5 item you use once and throw away is actually quite expensive per use. When I started thinking this way, I stopped buying cheap versions of things I'd need to replace constantly. And I stopped feeling guilty about spending more on things I'd actually use a lot. The ninth thing is that I stopped comparing my financial situation to people I see online. When you're watching someone else's lifestyle, even if you consciously know it's a highlight reel, your brain files it away as normal. Then your own life starts to feel like it's lacking something. And then you spend to close a gap that was never real to begin with. Reducing that input, unsubscribing, muting, spending less time in those environments genuinely affects your spending behavior. Not because you're hiding from reality, but because you're protecting your sense of what enough looks like. The 10th thing sounds the least like a tip. I got clear on what I actually want my money to do for me, not in a vague financial freedom way, specifically. I sat down and wrote out what my life would look like if money weren't a source of anxiety. Not rich, not retired at 35, just not anxious. A small buffer so surprises don't spiral. A few experiences a year that matter. A slow, steady plan. When you know what you're building toward, every financial decision gets a little easier, because you have a reason to opt out of the things that don't serve it. Here's what I've come to believe about all of this. The reason these habits work isn't because they're clever, it's because they're quiet. They don't require a personality overhaul. They just require small, low-friction adjustments that work with your psychology instead of against it. Most financial advice tells you to be more disciplined. Fight your impulses. Have more willpower. But willpower is a finite resource, and building a financial life on it is exhausting and unreliable. What actually works is designing your environment so that the default choice, the easy choice, is also the financially sensible choice. Move savings before you can spend it. Don't keep tempting emails in your inbox. Don't go grocery shopping hungry. These aren't discipline hacks. They're just reducing the number of moments where you have to fight yourself. If you're wondering where to start, pick one thing from this list. Not all 10. 1. If your spending feels invisible, start with the subscription audit. If you feel reactive with money, try the 48-hour pause. If you never have anything left to save, move even a small amount before you spend anything else this month. Think of these as experiments. Try one for 30 days and notice how it feels, whether your stress changes, whether anything shifts. None of this requires a perfect month. You can start this week with 10 minutes and a bank statement. I want to leave you with something that took me longer than I'd like to admit to understand. Financial progress doesn't announce itself. It doesn't look dramatic. It's not a moment. It's a direction. Most of the people who quietly end up in a better place with money aren't there because of one big decision. They're there because of 100 small, invisible ones that nobody around them even noticed. You don't need to be impressive about this. You just need to keep making slightly better decisions, a little more consistently, over time. That's it. That's the whole thing. And if this month is harder than last month, that's okay too. Progress isn't linear, but the direction matters more than the pace. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let us know in the comments what we should talk about next time. And thanks for watching.